Oh my goodness, so it just died. So we are starting it. The dogs. Starting again. Can't remember what I was up to again. It was when he was about a month old, and I kind of acknowledged that something was wrong. Like, I had this connection with this baby that I have never ever had with my 3-year-old. The love that I have for this baby I have never had for my 3-year-old. It brought in a lot of guilt, which kind of choked up my depression and anxiety. Also, the breastfeeding with the baby, he wasn't gaining any weight. He was about 3 months old, and he had only gained 2 kgs. Bolt! 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 Get down! Someone's building next door and he doesn't like that. Bolt! Get down! Bolt! No! Don't get chihuahuas, guys. No, just kidding. They're very loyal dogs. So I keep thinking someone's here. So that's kind of when I acknowledged that there was a bigger problem than what I thought. And then, so the baby wasn't gaining weight. He had only gained those 2 kgs. I was feeding him, I was breastfeeding. I was breastfeeding whenever he wanted to. I stopped all my, I wouldn't say dieting, I was just kind of not cutting out sugar, I was just kind of cutting out processed foods. I was trying to eat better foods. I kind of stopped that, and I just ate. I just had whatever I felt like eating. I just ate it. Still nothing. I bought, the supplements. I bought the cookies. I was pumping enough milk. I had a good milk supply, so that wasn't the issue. I was scared that my milk was empty, that I had my milk just wasn't good milk, and that's why he wasn't gaining weight. Sorry, I've just started letting him have these little baby belly chip things, and it's kind of freaking me out that he's going to choke on it, but he's not so far. But anyway, so he's so cute. So, I'm just getting so distracted. Oh yeah, so I was stressed about that. I ended up pumping to try and get him to take more, because I was worried that he actually wasn't drinking a whole amount. He was snacking. Whenever I would give him a bottle of breast milk, he would only take 30 mils, where at the age and point that he was at, he should have been having about 120 mils. So he was just having very small amounts. I think they came to the conclusion that he was just too tired from not getting enough, that he was too tired to feed, so he was only feeding for short periods of time and then falling asleep because he had no energy. So I started pumping, trying to force those extra mils in, which I was doing, but that was very hard. They also wanted me to top him up on formula feeds. So I was pumping, and I was breastfeeding, and I was formula feeding. I was very stuck on an idea of what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to just strictly breastfeed and hope that it kind of gets better, or do I just want to pump, or do I just want to put him on formula? Because I was scared I was going to regret it. I was scared if I stopped breastfeeding and put him on formula that I would regret it later in life, because this is my last baby. I was very scared of that. But then I was scared of just breastfeeding in case, I'm starving my baby. Like, what if my milk is empty and I'm just starving him? Like, that's just being selfish. But then, you get comments of, why give them silver when you can give them gold and all that. So it was just very hard for me to make that decision. It wasn't until I kind of came to the conclusion of how I was feeling. So kind of hit me very hard, with all that stress, plus the stress of this connection that I had with my older son that was very lacking. I was angry all the time, like anything would trigger me and set me off. and I had no idea why, and then all of a sudden these thoughts came into my head. Anything could trigger me. I would take myself into a dark room and just sit there, and I used to have horrible thoughts that were very, very scary. I couldn't control them myself, and before anyone starts freaking out, it wasn't about harming my children. It was nothing to do with my children. My children are what stopped me. My thoughts were suicidal. I don't think I would ever actually do it. I think it was just I wanted the pain to stop. So me having a backup plan, me having a plan on how I was going to stop that pain if it got too hard, kind of relieved me. It's kind of like when people self-harm. It's you don't want to die, you just want the pain to die. You want these feelings to die. And the thing that's kind of pulled me back in would always be, the baby would wake up from a nap, or, someone would need me, and that's kind of what would click me out of these thoughts, and I would freak out because I was having these horrible thoughts, like I'm a horrible mum, I'm thinking about these horrible things, like I want to, like how selfish of me that I'm going to leave my children. I should be grateful I've got 2 kids that are healthy, and there's people out there that can't have children, and here I am struggling. Like, it's just selfish. Like, why am I struggling? My baby, like my baby is the most easiest baby. He never cries. He sleeps all the time. He has big naps. He is just the most happiest baby pretty much anyone has ever met. So it wasn't like I was stressed by how he was. At nighttime, even if the baby was sleeping, I struggled to sleep, so I'll kind of lie there, and it's not that I'd be thinking about anything in particular. Thoughts would just race through, and they weren't anything important. I just couldn't turn off. So I had like insomnia. I don't know if that's how you say it. So on top of all this, I was sleep deprived as well, so that kind of made it worse. It wasn't until I didn't want to tell anyone because I was scared. I was scared that people wouldn't trust me with my kids. I was scared of what people would think of me. So I ended up telling my Plunket nurse. She made me call the doctor on the spot, and I went and seen them, and it was really, really hard. I didn't want to say it. I was like, no, you know what, I'll just deal with it. Like, I don't want to tell anyone. But I told him, and he diagnosed me with anxiety, postnatal depression, insomnia, and also panic attacks. So when I was younger, I used to have a lot of panic attacks. I put them under control myself. I didn't see or get any help. And they came back in full blast once this kind of all started happening. It would happen just something as simple as going to the gas station and knowing that I don't have my card that has the chip on it, so I'm going to have to go in the store. I would get a panic attack because I have to walk inside. And for people that know me will know that that's the complete opposite of me. I love talking to people. I love talking to people that I don't know. That's why I work in retail. So this was not me. I would have panic attacks about our friends that we have known for 7 years coming over, which they used to come over every weekend. They used to pretty much live, like at one point they did live with us, and I was, the family, and all of a sudden they'd come over, and I would pace the hallway trying to get myself up to go out there, but I would have a panic attack because they're already seated. And then they're all going to look at me because they're already established, and here I am walking in, and they're going to look at me, and they're going to ask how I am, and then I'm going to start crying, and like that, like all these thoughts. I just wanted to stay in bed, and for my partner to tell them that I'm asleep or I'm not home or something. In the end, I got myself up to it. I put my sunglasses on, and it was nighttime, and I walked out, and I pretty much sat down, and someone just said something about my sunglasses, and I couldn't handle it, and that was what I was scared of happening. I cried. No one knew that I was crying because I had my sunglasses on, but I just sat there and wanted to go inside, but I was too scared to stand up because people would notice. it was just small things like that, like things that I do every day, that became a real issue for me. So the doctor pretty much said he's putting me on this medication, but he wants me to stop breastfeeding before I start taking it. The medication is safe for breastfeeding, but there's been no research done on it in the long term effects it could have on a baby, only kind of the short term, and he didn't want to risk that. Also, I think he wanted me to stop breastfeeding because he believes that's probably half the reason that I had a lot of my depression, was because I was freaking out about feeding the baby. So I pretty much pumped every 2 hours all day, and for 2 of those times I would pump for an hour straight. So I think, what is that called, power pumping. I did that for about 2 weeks before I went on the medication, because I wanted to kind of get a stock in my freezer. When I started my medication, it was very hard because I'd stopped pumping, and I worked very hard to get that supply up, so that was very sad and hard and scary for me. And then on top of that, this medication, like, I don't think anyone could prepare you for how you feel on the medication. The first 3 days were horrible. I was so tired. My eyes just wanted to close, like they just kept closing, and this was just after I'd woken up from a 12-hour sleep, and it was like this for full 3 days straight. I had the worst headaches, I felt sick, I couldn't eat, and then on top of that, you still have your problems. So I still had my anxiety, my depression, and my panic attacks, because it takes like over 2 weeks for it to kind of start working. As my doctor kind of explained to me, if you are going to do any harm to yourself or anyone else, it's going to be within those 3 days of starting your medication. Like, it's a pretty big risk, so I was aware of that. It didn't change my thoughts. Like, it definitely didn't make it that I wanted to act on my thoughts at all. It just made me feel horrible, and it made me want to stop taking them, and it made me think that it wasn't worth taking them if this is how I was going to feel. I stuck it out, and then now I think it's been 2 months since I have been on them. Pretty much the last 2 weeks have been where I've really noticed a change in myself. I'm not angry like I used to be. I used to lash out at my older son a lot, so even him just wanting to talk to me, ask me a question or something, I would just say, go away, like, I'm busy, like, just leave me alone. Like, I would just lash out, and I would take it out on my older son and my partner a lot, which I also carried guilt for. But once this medication kind of started to kick in, it definitely became a lot easier. I was a lot less angry. I could see a lot more positive. I was myself again, like I am myself again, you know. As you guys will see in more of my videos about my, like, I'm not going to say OCD because I don't believe it's OCD. I think it's just like my passion for cleaning, my routines that I do, and all that. And obviously me starting the gym was to help with my mental health. I wouldn't say it was for confidence, because I'm a pretty confident person within myself. It was more pretty much just mental health. It was more for me to I wanted to be able to acknowledge that I'm trying to take care of myself, that I'm filling my own cup so that I can fill my kids' cups, because if your cup's empty, you can't fill anyone else's, so you have to look after yourself. But I was trying to just be mindful of the things that I'm doing. I've started meditating. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but the Calm app has a lot of sleep stories, meditation, and I couldn't recommend them enough. They are amazing. I listen to them pretty much every night. After the gym, I go to the beach and meditate to whatever is on the app that I'm kind of feeling it. A lot of it's like anxiety, panic attacks, sleep, appreciation, calming, like all of that. So it's all really good. So that's pretty much it, and I hope that that can help a lot of people that are kind of feeling the same way. I also started a group, which is a postnatal depression group for mums, and there's a few of us in there. It's an 8-week, I think it's an 8-week group where you go once a week, and it is amazing. It kind of just lets you know that there's a lot of people out there that feel the same way as you, and even if they don't, the problems that they're having, you start to feel grateful that you don't have those problems, even though you have your own problems. I don't know if that sounds horrible, but like, you know, like if someone else is having a problem, it makes you feel grateful that you don't have that problem. So it makes your issue feel a lot less, and then it's the same for them. Your issue to them seems a lot worse than theirs, so they feel grateful that they don't have your issue. And you learn a lot about communication and relationships and how to bring up your children and all of that. So that with my medication has really helped. I think I'm going to have to see someone else after it, because obviously all of that doesn't help with my connection and relationship that I have with my oldest son. I believe that has never been there, and I believe that the issue was because we didn't have the initial hour of skin-on-skin contact. I believe it's that, and then also the fact that he screamed 24/7 and no one prepares you for your child to not know how to sleep. Like, no one tells you, you know, you think babies know how to sleep, but some of them don't. Or colic or reflux or whatever it is. No one really prepares you for that. And then also the breastfeeding, the problems that I had for breastfeeding him. I had guilt, obviously, that I wasn't breastfeeding, and the looks and the thoughts and the comments you would get about bottle feeding them when he was born. So I think it was just all of that kind of, I wouldn't say, like, I love my child. I love both my children with everything inside me, but I would just say the bond that I have between them is so different, which obviously brings its guilt in itself. Like, you know, you have this 3-year-old that just, you know, I don't ever want him to even notice. I don't ever want him to know this bond that I have differently with him and his brother. I don't ever want him to think that I don't love him as much as his brother, or that his brother's better, because that is not true. I love both my kids as much as I would ever love anything. It's just a bonding and a connection thing that I've realised, which that's okay, because acknowledging that is the first step, and we're going to get some help, and then it'll be okay. And I'm sure after that there'll be another problem, but that's okay, because we're gonna help that. We're gonna fix that issue. So that's pretty much it on that. I hope that helps. I know it's a pretty long vlog, but I hope that helps a lot of people that are kind of in the same boat. It is normal. I've learned in my group, it is normal to have these connection issues with a child. Not everyone has the love at first sight. A lot of it has to be grown and has to be made. Yeah, and I hope that helps someone. But if you like what you have seen, follow this page, and I'll be posting more videos more often, all different subjects and whatever. But yeah, let me know if it's worth me doing another video.